Here are my top 20 tips for health and aesthetics. This video is going to be for you if you suffer from bodily pain, haven't been able to stick to a diet, your body fat keeps sticking around, and you can't seem to build muscle, chronic injuries, pains, can't get enough sleep, etc., etc. If any of these issues plague you, listen up. Anyways, my name's Simon. Welcome to my channel. I've been a personal trainer since 2007, and I'm a certified yoga instructor, and I've been living a healthy lifestyle for, wow, over half my life. Number one is focus on mobility more than bodybuilding style workout. Veer a little bit away from the bodybuilding style workouts and focus more on mobility. And when I say mobility, that's going to be foam rolling, trigger point work, and a lot of stretching. So you're going to find that as you get older, I turned 50 2 months ago, and I can tell you right now, your flexibility and your mobility are going to be extremely important as you age. So focus on that. Yeah, sure, you want to be able to take off the shirt at the beach, flex those muscles, look good for whatever, in front of your boys or, to pick up chicks. But you're still going to want to be able to have a functioning athletic body. And one of the steps in doing that is to do daily. I'm not even kidding here. You're going to have to stretch on a daily basis. So whether that's passive stretching, active stretching, it doesn't really matter what kind of stretching you're doing, but you're going to have to focus a lot on that just to maintain. I'm talking about just to maintain, you're going to have to do daily stretching. If you actually want to get good, if you want to be able to do the splits, if you want to be able to put your arms behind your back and, that type of thing, or, even just like, getting dressed when we're 60s and in our 70s, not having to rely on somebody else. I'm not kidding. Mobility and stretching is something you're not going to want to neglect. 2, don't cut carbs too low. Now, I would say the most popular diet right now is the keto diet.
The keto diet's complete BS if you're trying to look aesthetic. The keto diet's essentially a low-carb diet, which is awful for building strength and muscle because carbs are the most important macronutrient for gym performance.
But this has gone through changes over time. It used to be the South Beach diet. It used to be, I forget, caveman diet. Or I don't know. There's all kinds of different names for these types of diets where they're, high on protein, high on veggies. They cut out fruit, they cut out all carbs, which for the average person who's not very athletic, yeah, you can lose weight. A lot of that weight actually is going to be water, so carbohydrate. So carbs bond with water and keep water in your body, which we want, which we need. But when you cut carbs, you're also going to be slightly dehydrated. So you're going to be, cutting water weight. So in the mirror, you look better, the weight's flying off, you look thinner. And yeah, maybe that's what you want. So, before a photo shoot, you might want a carb cut. But if you're an athlete, you definitely don't want a carb cut too low. That being said, a moderate level is probably what most people want to do. If your carbs are too high, yeah, I get it. I mean, it's going to be stored as body fat, which we don't want. But I would say keep your carbs moderate, don't cut them too low, and definitely don't cut them right out. Point number 3, don't increase fat too high. This sort of carries over from my previous point. When your fat's too high, it's not that it's, fat is not the enemy, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm still advocating for fat in the diet. You can't cut it out because obviously fat is super important for hormone production, testosterone levels and that type of thing. We have to have fat in our diet. But when the fat's too high, it gets stored much more easily as fat than carbohydrates get stored as fat.
Did you know that if you eat a lot of fats, it turns your body into a fat-burning machine? Oh, wait. As Arnold would no doubt say, come on, don't bullshit.
So if you have a choice between slightly higher carb or slightly higher fat, I would say go with the slightly higher carb. Because, we can store carbs in our blood, in our liver, in our muscle tissue, it stores carbs. So you actually look a little bigger as well. But when we store fat, it just gets stored as fat. So whether that's, intramuscular fat or, visceral fat, it's all fat. So we don't really want to get good at storing fat. So I would say, again, if your carbs are moderate, keep your fats moderate, and even, especially if you're dieting, I would say keep them on the lower end of the spectrum. If you're super lean, you can bump them up a little bit higher. Anyway, keep fats moderate to low. Point number 4, go to see your dentist and see if you need a night guard. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because I didn't find out that I needed a night guard until I was in my 20s. I had no idea. Nobody told me that I was grinding my teeth at night. I never noticed. I would wake up in the morning sometimes with a headache. I'd never really noticed a sore jaw or anything like that. And then one day when I went to my dentist was looking at my teeth and he said, I think you grind your teeth at night. I mean, you have like severe wearing on your molars. He says, my teeth look like they were the teeth of a 50-year-old or 60-year-old. He said, you've done permanent damage to your teeth, which is basically irreversible. So I had to get some ceramics done on my teeth to protect them. But I'm telling you right now, nobody told me. None of my ex-girlfriends, none of my siblings, my parents, nobody told me I was grinding my teeth. It took my dentist, 10 years before he realized, oh, maybe I should tell this patient of mine that his teeth are worn down. And so now I wear a night guard every single night. I don't know if I need it anymore. He says that, wearing a night guard regularly can actually help you prevent the grinding. I don't know how that is. It creates a small gap between the teeth or something like that so that your muscles are less likely to clamp all the way down, so that when you're not wearing a night guard, you're actually not touching your teeth anymore. I don't know. I'm still wearing it because nobody's telling me if I'm grinding my teeth. So go get checked out, see if you're grinding your teeth. Point number 5 is to buy a yoga chair. And what do I mean by yoga chair? I mean the chair I'm sitting in right now. It's got this wide back, it's got a wide base, and it allows me to sit with one leg up cross-legged or even both legs up cross-legged really comfortably. I mean, this chair is like super comfortable. It reclines a little bit, raises and lowers. It does everything I need. It just doesn't have armrests, and the base is like nice and wide so that you can get good at whatever, half lotus, full lotus, however you want to sit. But I mean, constantly sitting with your legs dropping straight down, I would say, it's not good because your blood pools in your feet, venous return is bad, tight hamstrings, tight hip flexors, everything just tightens into one position. At least with a chair like this, which I got on Amazon for, I don't know, like $100, give or take. Pretty cheap for a nice chair. It's saving me my hips. So that's, been hugely advantageous for me. I bought it about a year ago. I'll never go back. Point number 6 is to buy a standing desk. Again, connected to the previous point, this just gets you standing and sitting. You can adjust it up and down, adjusting the heights. So some days I just have my desk at full height the whole day, and I never sit down. Other days I switch between standing and sitting. So my lotus position chair to standing, it's awesome. And for, I don't know, it's about $100 for, I got a small standing desk. You can even get those kind of like an attachment or whatever, or like a base that slaps on the top of your regular desk to allow you to raise and lower your computer without having to buy the whole new desk. And those are a lot cheaper. I went with the full desk. Just hit a button and it goes down and up. Very convenient. Great for the legs. I mean, what else can I say? You'll burn a few extra calories while you're at it. Point number 7 is to cook in a pressure cooker. Now, I've had a pressure cooker for, I don't know, over a decade, and I'll never go back to, a regular pot. I cook everything in there. It does rice, beans, chicken breast, pot roast, and it's basically like a microwave, but way better. So it cooks everything like really, like, what can I say, like, it gets right in there deep and just, in a quarter of the time. So, veggies, cooking potatoes, anything hard, root vegetables, anything you want to cook in these things. And, you can set the timer in the morning. When you come home after work, you have like a stew or a pot roast or something done for you. I mean, again, mine cost $150 or something like that for an instant pot. But you can get them, secondhand. You can get different brands. But, it's been a game changer for my kitchen. I use it almost every single day. If you're not using one of those, I mean, I swear, like you're missing out big time. All it takes is a little bit of water in the bottom or some broth, tomato, whatever you want to put in there for a bit of liquid. It doesn't need too much, and it just, steams everything to hell. So sometimes I just put my entire meal in there. So I put rice, chicken, my veggies, and then I'm done. So it does my lunch and my dinner. So you get 2 meals in one, or you can double the size and get 4 meals. I mean, it's been a game changer for my kitchen. Point number 8 is to cut out processed sugar and processed oil. Now, I don't think any of you are going to be shocked when I say to cut out processed sugar. I mean, it's the demon, right? I mean, this stuff is horrible for us. It latches onto our arteries, so, you know, causes plaque buildup along with other things. That's part of the reason why we have, you know, so many diseases, lifestyle related diseases such as heart disease and, you know, cardiovascular diseases. I would say it's the processed sugar that's the main culprit. But piggybacking off of this sugar, which a lot of people are unaware of, I would say, are processed oils. Now you're saying, what's wrong with oil? Don't we need oil?
So let's talk about the best oil to deep fry your foods in. Well, you should probably use something healthy like vegetable oil, right? Because you can see these healthy vegetables here. And you can see this one is Clover Valley. So it's probably a beautiful farm, rolling hills and clover where they make this vegetable oil. And it's pure vegetable oil. It's actually considered heart healthy on the label. There's just a little bit of saturated fat in here. I think it's 2 grams. There's no sugar. There's no trans fats. And there's no gluten. And so this is pretty much the best oil you should use to deep fry your food. And I hope you know that I am completely and utterly sarcastic today.
I'm not saying cut out fat. What I'm saying is, if you're buying oil in a bottle, for example, like organic coconut oil or MCT oil or any of these oils that are branded, believe me, if you think that they're good for you, you've sort of fallen victim to this branding, which is very powerful. I would say if you want to get your oils, get from whole foods. So that's going to be your meats, that's going to be your eggs, that's going to be avocados, you know, nuts, walnuts, almonds, all these types of oils that are naturally found in foods. You know, if you want to talk about grains, go whole grains. So brown rice has a little bit more oil in the bran. Oatmeal also has a little bit more fats or oils in it than other grains. So you'll get your fats from natural sources, and it'll be better for you than the processed oils that come in a bottle. Oils that come in a bottle, yes, they go rancid over time and we don't notice it, so they do sort of break down or they decay over time. So if they're in your cupboard for too long, they're probably not as good as when you first bought them. You know, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of all, you know, the conspiracy theories behind, you know, olive oils and that type of thing. But all I'll say is try to get your fats from whole food sources. Point number 9 is to pack a lunch. Now, I don't know how many of you like to cook. I don't know how many of you, you know, prefer to eat out, just grab something on the go. You have your favorite spots that you go to, which make, you know, healthy food. But if you're not observing what they're doing in the kitchen, they're probably adding stuff in there that at home you may not want to do, such as your processed oils, sauces with sugars added, you know, just additive laden food, which is not going to be good for you. It's not hard to do. It's not expensive to do. To, in the morning, you know, throw some rice in your rice cooker, bread if you want. I prefer rice or some kind of whole grain. And then, you know, throw some chicken breast on the top, cook everything in your pressure cooker, cook it all in your rice cooker, and throw it in a Tupperware container. And then bang, you've got your carbs, you've got your proteins. And so anytime you're out and you're just feeling hungry, you're not going to have to grab something which is, you know, questionable. You know, this has been something I've just sort of developed a habit. Every morning, I make sure I have a lunch. At minimum, it's going to be carbs and protein. And those can be cooked at the same time. So it doesn't have to be in a pressure cooker. I would say a rice cooker does just as good as a job if it's just going to be rice and chicken. And then, you know, throw a bit of spices, a bit of veggies in there if you want. But at minimum, bring chicken and rice for lunch wherever you go. Point number 10 is to drink coffee or tea. So I only started drinking coffee about 5 years ago. I don't know why. Pretty much my whole life, I never drank coffee. And then one of my ex-girlfriends was a huge coffee nut, and we used to go to Starbucks all the time. And so she got me hooked on coffee. Since then, I've tried to quit and give it up. I thought I was drinking too much and had too much caffeine. And I was like, man, I can't quit. I would try to quit. The longest I did it was for like 3 months. And then I just went back, It's hard to stop. But anyway, I don't fight it anymore. I have a couple coffees throughout the day. And for me, this has been a game changer just because, You know, when I'm feeling like I want to, you know, I don't eat something and I have a craving. Yeah, sure, I could drink a glass of water, or I don't know, have a piece of fruit, that's fine too. But, you know, just a coffee is so easy to make. You know, I can get them anywhere. I live in Japan, so I can get them at the 7-Eleven, you know, for like $1.50. So they're pretty cheap here. But I mean, after I have a coffee, I'm good to go for, you know, like an hour, hour and a half, and I don't even think about food. So the caffeine hits me. Obviously, don't put sugar in it. I put a splash of milk in mine, or I do it black. But, you know, in the evening when I don't want to have like a lot of caffeine, I'll do a tea. It's not always a herbal tea. Sometimes I do like a black tea or a green tea in the evenings. If caffeine does not affect you, then you're one of the lucky ones. But for me, sometimes I'll have a hard time sleeping if I up my caffeine too high, which is why I try not to have caffeine after dinner. I try not to have a coffee after dinner, but I have a little bit of caffeine, like a green tea or something in the evenings. Just another habit that I've built up over time, which sort of keeps my body fat at a lean level and keeps me from binging on snacks and that type of thing. Point number 11 is to drink protein shakes. And the ones with flavor and artificial sweeteners are probably going to be the best bet for most people, just because they taste awesome. You know, for 100 to 150 calories, you get your protein hit. And when I don't have a coffee, I have a protein shake. Sometimes I mix it with just plain water, and sometimes I mix it with milk. Or I do like half water, half milk. You know, put it in the blender, zap it, makes it frothy, so darn good. So that sort of, you know, tides me over to my next mealtime. But I mean, if possible, if you can palate it, what else you can do is get plain protein powder and just stick a half a banana in there. If you do a whole banana, you know, you might be, you know, increasing your calories too high for the day if you're going to be doing that, because I do 2, sometimes even 3 protein shakes per day. I usually have one for breakfast, one midday, and then I sometimes do another one before bed. So I do a lot of protein shakes. I mean, I have probably too much of it here at home. But anyways, if you can, get the plain type, mix it with milk, mix it with water, put a half a banana, some cinnamon in there. It's pretty darn good. It might take you a while because the ones with the artificial sweeteners or the stevias, they're pretty sweet. So the shift from that to a plain is going to be a big jump for a lot of people. But I would say if you can get yourself off of the artificial sweeteners and off of these artificial colors, it's going to be better for your health. Point number 12 is to take a multivitamin daily.
What supplements would you say offer the most bang for the buck?
Multivitamin, multimineral. Not everyone needs them. Most people don't if they have a good diet, but notice I said if they have a good diet, so I take the most people right back because most people don't.
I don't think you need a lot of supplements. I don't advocate for a lot of, you know, crazy thing, you know, creatine and that type of thing. You know, a protein powder, yes, if you need it. You don't even really need it if, you know, if your diet's pretty on point. But I would say a multivitamin, more and more they're becoming important just because the quality of our soils and, you know, what the animals are eating, you know, so our meats and our veggies, I would say in terms of nutrition, has only degraded over time. And so in order to just, like the name says, supplement, you know, these vitamins and minerals, we should probably just, you know, to cover our bases, take a daily multivitamin. Point number 13 is to do things that you don't really want to do. I would say this, if anything, just builds mental fortitude from, you know, my previous point, like a standing desk. You know, standing for, let's say, 4 hours out of the day, you may start to get tired and you want to sit down. But, you know, that's a very small example. Or, you know, if you're a runner, you're a jogger.
44 degrees and it's nice and rainy outside. But no one cares about that. It's not about the rain. It's what the rain represents. Life is always giving you a test. Trying to give you a way out. Trying to give you an excuse not to show up. This is my excuse today. But guess what? You gotta have the mentality to show up every fucking day of your life. No matter what life throws at you. It's our responsibility to show up to the Coliseum of life and prepare for fucking battle. I don't care what you're going through, what life's throwing at you. It's your responsibility to find your new 100%.
Purposely go on a rainy day. You know, force yourself to do the things where you're like, I don't really want to do that. You know, like going upstairs to get something, you're like, nah, I don't want to go upstairs to get it. I'll just do this instead, you know, use something else. Force yourself to do things that are a little bit hard. You know, we have a very convenient lifestyle. We live in comfort. One of my mottos is comfort will kill you. And I honestly believe that. So we have to do things that are a little bit, you know, challenging the body, challenging the mind a little bit. I mean, you know, I'm taking a page out of David Goggins' book here. Like, we have to do hard shit a little bit every day if we can. So that's, you know, it's kind of cliche, right? Take the stairs, take your car less, stand more often, you know, run instead of walk, you know, don't avoid the rain. These types of things, you know, it'll make you a stronger person, especially mentally. Point number 14 is to focus on yourself before you start spreading your time out with other people.
Until you are at a certain level or position in life, dating is merely a distraction. Now, that doesn't mean go be an antisocial. It just means have your priorities straight. Focus on the mission, and the rest will fall into place.
Let's just talk about like birthdays and celebrations and, you know, these types of things, especially birthdays. You know, there's a birthday like every month. Sometimes it's every week. And what are these birthdays? I mean, yeah, we want, you know, to celebrate our friends and that type of thing. Personally, I see it as an excuse to get soft. You know, a little bit more drinking, a little bit more eating, a little bit more hanging out. And I would say you're better off focusing on yourself a little bit more. You know, don't be rude about it, but you might not be able to make all of the birthdays, all of the events, all of the anniversary parties that are happening throughout the year, and just take that time, put it aside mentally, and just say, okay, I'm gonna read a book during this time, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna stretch, I'm gonna do my mobility work, I'm gonna work on myself, my business, whatever you're working on. You know, purposely use your time. Don't just, you know, start attending all these birthday parties. I mean, they're all the time. You know, December it's Christmas, then there's New Year's, then there's like Valentine's Day events, you know, birthday after party after eating, you know, eating out, and, you know, you never have time to work on yourself. So I'm not saying you have to shut everybody out all the time, but try focusing on yourself a little more. Point number 15 is to eat organ meats. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of liver, but I eat it pretty regularly. I eat it a couple times a week. Depends on how much I buy. Sometimes I'll even eat it every day for like a week straight. And I don't eat it as like the main part of my meal. Like, I don't just do like liver, rice, and veggies, for example. I'll do my main meat, let's say it's a chicken, veggies, and rice. I'll add in like a few chunks of liver to my meal. I treat it almost like a vitamin.
Grass-fed beef liver and meat together. This is the true multivitamin. This is nature's multivitamin. We're talking minerals, selenium, magnesium, manganese, copper, zinc, iron, vitamins, B12, folate, biotin, choline, vitamin A. It's all in here. Bioavailable, bioidentical forms of those vitamins that your body uses and is expecting.
And that's basically my point, is that organ meats like liver and heart are the main ones. I would say that, you know, they're so cheap. You know, add them in for your iron. You know, one serving of chicken breast has, I think, like 1 microgram of iron, whereas a serving of liver, beef liver, is 5 times to 10 times that amount. So we're all concerned about, you know, supplements and that type of thing. But I would say if you eat organ meat, I mean, your bases are covered. And so not only does it have more minerals, but I actually checked, and I was surprised to know this, that liver is lower fat than chicken breast. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, it's got more of everything in it. You know, I don't know if it's got more protein, but it's definitely got almost the same protein. And then it's actually lower fat. I was like, that's insane. I should be eating more liver, you know, and be saving money, and it's better for my health. But, you know, I can't eat it all the time, so I use it almost like a herb, I want to say. Like, you know, I chop it up into little pieces and I chuck it in with my meal, like a supplement. That's basically what I'm saying. Organ meats are your supplements. Point number 16 is to eat whole eggs.
Making sure that we have enough of the substrates to create acetylcholine is vital if we want to be able to focus. And that's why dietary choline is so vital. And the primary source for dietary choline would be eggs, and in particular, egg yolks. Eggs are an incredibly rich source of nutrients for the brain. And that's because the egg actually, if you think about it, contains all the nutrients that are required in order for an organism to grow. You know, a bird that's in a eggshell, it's got the yolk there, and it's using that yolk for a reason. It's using that yolk as a source of fuel. It's using that yolk as a source of literally building blocks in order to create its nervous system.
Now, I know a lot of people think, oh my God, okay, the cholesterol, the saturated fats and everything, which is true. I'm not saying go crazy with the eggs. Like if you're the type of person that's, you know, on the weekend or whatever, you know, you got your bacon, you got 4 eggs, okay, it might be a little high. But, you know, buying these processed egg whites, I'm not a fan. I would say natural food as much as possible. If you really want to do egg whites, I would say scoop out the yolk and chuck it. I know it's a lot of work, but I would rather you do that. What I do is I usually just have 1 egg a day. That's what I do. 1 egg for breakfast in the morning, and then I don't touch any more eggs. If you're thinking you want to have an egg salad sandwich, or you want to make, you know, a dish of eggs for your breakfast, let's say you want to have 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 eggs if you're really bulking, then probably not a good idea to have higher fat meats or any other eggs the days following that. You know, anyway, my point is don't avoid the whole eggs, but use them slightly moderately. I would say 1 a day is a good level, and then if you up it to anything more than that, cut back on other days. Point number 17 is to eat a whole foods diet. Now, this is easier said than done, and you know, what can I say? I mean, this is probably not new information to you guys, but it's just hard to put into practice. I think it's very hard to put into practice because I just see what people eat. You know, they eat these healthy protein bars, or they eat these healthy whatever, protein chips, gluten-free chips, whatever they're eating. I mean, it's this healthy processed food. Start looking at the label. Start looking at the ingredients of what you're eating. If there is a label at all, that should be an indication that maybe I shouldn't be eating too much of this. If you come look in my kitchen and you look in my fridge, I'll tell you what I eat. In my fridge, it's veggies, meat, and milk. I don't think there's anything else. There's no sauces. There's no juices. There's no fruit. Outside my fridge, I sometimes have some bananas, oranges, or apples. Nothing too crazy. At the moment, I haven't had fruit in my house for about 2 weeks. I don't do a lot of fruit. In my cupboard, spices, a bit of soy sauce, a bit of miso. I live in Japan, so I have, you know, Japanese spices. I also have some dried seaweed. I add that into my food. Again, this is more like a supplement. It's not that I love seaweed. It's that it's a supplement. You know, there's a bit of iron in there. You know, there's vitamin C. There's different things in the seaweed that I'm trying to get in a natural way. I don't want to take supplements. And you know that it's simple. I don't buy anything in a box. Everything, you know, my rice, you know, I have some beans too, dried beans. I soak. That's it. That's all I eat. So I make oatmeal for breakfast, chicken, rice, and veggies for lunch and dinner. I vary the spices a little bit. I mean, that's it. It's super simple, you know. And then, you know, I don't get sucked into the marketing. So there's no magical protein bars. There's no health drinks. You know, I save on money and it's better for my health. Point number 18 is to unplug some of your electronic devices when you sleep.
We want your bedroom to be pitch black. Remember, you have photoreceptors on every cell of your body. So if you have, I mean, I've had patients tell me that they have a TV on for the noise or the flashing. It can be as little as the light from a smoke detector or an alarm clock that can actually stimulate your pineal gland and allow your body to be in a more awake state. So pitch black is clutch. Now, we have blackout curtains in our bedroom and they still don't even cut it. So I actually wear a sleep mask. It's called the Sleep Master sleep mask. You can find them on Amazon. They work amazingly well.
I'm pretty sensitive, especially when I sleep. I don't like lights or sounds. So if you have like a backup drive for your computer, like for me during the middle of the night when it's doing like a backup or something like that, I use Time Machine on my Mac. So sometimes it's doing a backup and I can hear the backup's kind of spinning the disc, and I'm like, oh man, it's annoying. So I just unplug everything. Well, almost everything. Like 90% of whatever's in my periphery in my bedroom, I unplug it. So I have a TV in my bedroom, and there's a small red light that's always on. It shines in my room. You know, I unplug anything that has a small little light. You wouldn't believe it, but I mean, there's a lot of light and a lot of hum and a lot of buzzing that happens with all these devices that we have in our room. I'm not gonna get hokey pokey on you and say that there's like, I don't know, it's disturbing the energy of the room, or that's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying it does affect us on like a subconscious level, so we can't get into a deep sleep. So I get like those blackout curtains. When I turn off my light and I unplug a couple things, my room is like a sensory deprivation tank. Like it's super dark, super quiet, and I get great sleep. Like I cannot complain. So, I mean, check your clock. Does your clock give off a light? Those type of things. Just check to see, you know, do you have better sleep when you unplug a few things? Point number 19 is to trim crazy hairs. When I say crazy, I just mean guys, especially the guys here, because I think women keep this under wraps. But guys, you know, let's say, I want to talk about facial hair first of all. If you like to have a beard, I think great, cool. I don't think they look good on me, so I never have a beard. But if you have a beard, just make sure it's trimmed, so there's no kinky wild ones sticking out. Same thing goes for eyebrows. You know, if you have eyebrows that are, you know, getting a bit long, keep them trimmed. So eyebrows, beard, neck, you know, do the ear check, right? You know, my dad loves his barber because he does the whole face. He does the eyebrows, he does in the ears. Luckily, I'm not at the age where I have crazy hair growing out of my ears, but every once in a while I notice I have like this long blonde one on my earlobe, and I'm like, it's almost clear, like I can't even really see it. So you have to do a check. I'm just saying, guys, trim these kinky, wacky, crazy hairs. I'm not only talking face, I'm talking everywhere. So let's say you have, you know, kind of long hairs on your fingers. If you're that type of guy, I would say just trim them down a little bit. I mean, that's, you know, it's unfortunate. I mean, we can't just be beautiful in our bodies. A lot of people are telling us we can. I don't buy it. They'd rather us, you know, keep it kind of trim. It's not out of vanity, I don't think. It's just like, you know, imagine you're a waiter in like a nice restaurant and the waiter hands you your food with like kind of long hair on his fingers. You'd be like, whoa, you kind of taken aback maybe. Maybe you, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't. I mean, I would feel like I would want my waiter or my chef just to keep it a little trim. And I think that goes for like most men in society these days. I mean, that's the society we live in these days. Everything is kind of a little bit cleaner, a little more proper than things used to be perhaps in the past. Anyway, that's my opinion on that. Point number 20 is to use minoxidil, 5% on the hair. So that's something I've been doing for a number of years now. So comes in a small bottle, twice a day, morning and night, dab, 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 dab. And I don't know if it works. I guess it does. I mean, I'm trying to hide a little bit of thinning on the top. I hide it well, I think. But, you know, minoxidil, especially for the young guys, I mean, you're probably going to want to get started as soon as you start notice any signs of thinning. It's just going to keep everything looking nice and full. But anyway, it's not too expensive. You know, typical name, Rogaine, but you don't have to get the name brand stuff. You can just get the generic brand. I actually started out with like the Walmart brand. I can no longer ship it to Japan. I don't know why, but it worked fine. So anyways, minoxidil. Last point, point number 21. This is kind of a bonus point. And this point is actually kind of a big one. This is talking about testosterone levels. I have a whole video. It's one of my first videos on my channel, so go check it out. It's how to boost testosterone. And I have a whole video on it. A lot of different things that can be done. I mean, I don't want to repeat them all in this video, but I'll give you like a few that are pretty critical. Number one, get rid of plastics around you. When I say around you, I would say kitchen, bathroom, get the plastics out of the kitchen and the bathroom.
One of the things I think did us in was Tupperware parties. Little did we know that these plastic containers leach endocrine disruptors into our food. There are plenty of now glass containers.
When I say bathroom, specifically I'm talking about the shower curtain. So these plastics have phthalates in them. And so phthalates are hormone disruptors. They have like estrogen-like effects in the body. So where you're gonna find them, most damaging are in fragrances, plastics like shower curtains, and plastics like Tupperware containers or spatulas that you cook with, unless they're food grade silicone. If you use food grade silicone, you're probably fine. But for a lot of containers and a lot of these other small utensils we use in the kitchen, it's especially when they're heated that they're really harmful. So if you're microwaving in plastic or you're cooking with a plastic spatula, you're damaging your hormone levels right there. Shower, same thing. If you shower with hot water and you have a plastic phthalate-laden shower curtain, you're gonna be in trouble later on in life because your hormones are gonna be whacked. You're gonna have low T. So again, go check out my one of my first videos. I have a bunch of different things, different foods that you can eat. But basically, I'll just let you know that, plastics in your life are not doing you any favors. We can never cut them out completely. Just cut them out where you can. In the kitchen, I would say, get a wood cutting board, change all your utensils to stainless steel, and use glass Tupperware containers. If you can start right there, you're gonna do your testosterone levels a huge favor. So that's it. I'll end this video here. There's a ton more I could mention. Maybe I'll make another video, but hopefully you found this helpful. Huge thanks for sticking around as always. We'll check you in the next one. Peace.